Hello there, I'm Jamain. This is the recap. The recap is where we explore English B poems that are in the CXC English Syllabus 2018 to 2023. Today is the 22nd day of January in the year 2018. Today we're looking at the poem West Indies, USA by Stuart Brown. In 1951, Stuart Brown was born in the United Kingdom. He is currently a lecturer, he's a poet, obviously, and an editor. He has traveled and worked throughout the Caribbean and West Africa. His poetry generally focuses exclusively on the Caribbean and the African cultures, but Stuart Brown though he often visits the Caribbean, his poetry makes it seem as though he's an outsider and he's recalling what happens in the Caribbean as an outsider. So, this poem, West Indies USA, is a good one. It's a brilliant poem. It might be difficult for persons to understand it from reading it one time, but it's a good poem, and once you understand the poem, you can understand definitely how Americanization is affecting not only our individual culture, but the culture of the Caribbean people. And it's a beautiful poem because really we are trying to say we are individual people, we are trying to say we are free, but we so readily accept the American culture. Let's go into West Indies, USA by Stuart Brown. West Indies, USA, Stuart Brown. Cruising at 30,000 feet above the endless green, the island seems like dice tossed on a casino's bays. Some come up lucky, others not. Puerto Rico takes the pot, the Dallas of the West Indies. Silver linings on the clouds as we descend are hallmarked. San Juan glitters like a maverick's gold ring. All across the Caribbean, we collected terminals. Airports are like calling cards, cultural fingerprints. The handwritten signs at Port-au-Prince, Piaco's sleazy tourist art, the lethargic contempt of the baggage boys at Veered Bird in St. John's, and now plush San Juan. But the pilot's bland, you're safe in my hands, drawl crackles as we land. US regulations demand all passengers not disembarking at San Juan stay on the plane. I repeat, stay on the plane. Subtle Uncle Sam, afraid too many desperate blacks might re-enslave this island of the free. Might jump the barbed electric fence around America's backyard and claim that vaunted sanctuary. Give me your pour. Through toughened tinted glass, the contrast tantalize. US patrol cars glide across the shimmering tarmac. Containered baggage truck unload with fierce efficiency. So soon we're climbing, low above the pulsing city streets, galvanized shanties overseen by condominiums, polished Cadillacs shimmying past, rastas with push carts. And as we climb, San Juan's fools glitter calls to mind the shattered innard of a TV set that has fallen off the back of a lorry. All painted valves and circuits, the road like twisted wires, the bright cars microchips. It's sharp and jagged and dangerous and belonged to someone else. Now, with the title of this poem, West Indies, USA, there is singly not a better title in any of the poem that we look at in this syllabus here. There is simply not a nicer title. Though the title West Indies, USA sums the entire poem up brilliantly. Good work by Stuart Brown. It says West Indies, USA. It is as though West Indies is a component of the USA. So it appears as though, you know, when you say New York, USA, or New Jersey, USA, Florida, USA, it's showing us that Florida is a subset of the USA, which obviously is true, is a state of the USA. So for Stuart Brown to say that West Indies, USA, he is giving the idea to us from the get-go that the West Indies is a subset of the USA. We know that is not true, but he paints a picture for us that we might not necessarily have an identity of our own. I might stir a few feathers there, but it's just showing us the influence that the US has on the Caribbean, on the West Indies. So it's as though the West Indies by itself doesn't have that identity of its own. It starts by saying cruising at 30,000 feet above the endless green. So it's as though the plane that he is in, the poet is in, is about 6 miles high, and he's looking down, and at the point at which he is, and looking down, the entire Caribbean Sea seems like an endless green. So, and it appears as though he's making a comparison here, a simile we are seeing there, like dice tossed on a casino's base. And so you're throwing dice on a casino table. And you're okay. You remember, if you look at the Caribbean map, I'll put a map there for you. You will see that the islands are scattered. One here, one there, one here, one there. So they're saying like dice. So when you throw dice, some on a casino table, one will go there, one will go the other way. But generally they're spread out. And that's what he's trying to hint to us here. Like dice. The islands appear like dice on a casino's table. And then goes on to say, some come up lucky, others not. Brilliant words. He's saying what? When we throw those dice, wherever those dice fall, some of them are lucky, and others are not. When we're playing blackjack or whatever we're playing, we were gambling. Some of us will be lucky. Some of us would hit the jackpot. Some of us would get rich, but others not. He is saying here, and we will go on to see that Puerto Rico takes the pot. Why exactly is Puerto Rico taking the pot? What does that mean? He said some come up lucky, others not. So he's trying to hint to us that Puerto Rico is lucky. But why exactly is Puerto Rico lucky? The Dallas of the West Indies. Is it because Puerto Rico still is a colony of the US? Is that what he's hinting to us here? Is that the reason why they're lucky? Is that the reason why they're rich? Because they're a subset of the USA, even though they're in the Caribbean Sea? Silver linings on the clouds as we descend are hallmarked. What does that mean? Silver lining. I'm quite sure we hear the words silver lining before. So it is as though they're saying, you know the phrase, every cloud has a silver lining. So it's as though they're saying that the Puerto Rico, the San Juan that he's descending in, has a silver lining. It is as though they're trying to hint to us that perhaps San Juan has that opportunity of being wealthy as a result of his relationship with the US. And that relationship, that wealth that they might get, is different when compared to the other Caribbean territories. So it's a very important relationship they're saying there. They're saying the because San Juan is associated with the US, it has a better relationship, it has a better country, it has a better development status, probably. But it also can be taken literally to mean that the silver lining that they're referring to is the emission of pollutants into the atmosphere, and they're trying to hint to us that because America is the owner of Puerto Rico, then we can pretty much expect to have air pollution, especially around Puerto Rico, as a result of the close relationship with the U.S. Because of course, we know that they will be powering their way to civilization. They will be throwing up buildings. They will throw up factories and so on. But let's go back a little. This Dallas of the West Indies, that's a beautiful analogy that he is actually using there. They're basically comparing Puerto Rico to Dallas. Dallas, of course, we know Dallas, part of Texas, Texas, USA. And in 1845, or somewhere thereabout, there was an annexation of annexation generally means a general seizure or invasion of of Texas from the people of Mexico. Let me go that back. Get the words right. So generally, in 1845, there was an annexation. There was a seizure of Texas from Mexico. So we know Mexico, as is right now, they don't have a very good relationship with the US. Trump wants to build a wall and all of that. But the point I'm making is Texas used to belong to Mexico, and the Americans took Texas from Mexico, or Mexico, they would want to say that. So he's hinting to us that Dallas of the West Indies, Puerto Rico, is now owned by the US, just as Texas was owned or is owned by the US after being taken away from Mexico. Hope that is easier for you to understand. All across the Caribbean, San Juan glitters like a maverick's gold ring. What's that telling us? It's telling us that because of the relationship with the US, San Juan, Puerto Rico seems to be rich, glittering. We've collected terminals, so they're talking about what, okay, as they were traveling, they collected people from the different places, they collected people from the different airports, and the people were like calling cards. There are many of them going. Cultural fingerprints are telling us a lot, because they're telling us as these people are moving, they're taking with them their culture, and they're talking with all of those cultures. Port-au-Prince, I do think that is the capital of Haiti. They say Piaco's sleazy tourist art. It also talks about the lethargic contempt of the baggage boys in Bird. They're hinting to you here all the different people that were brought on this plane. And of course, as these people are moving, they're moving and taking their culture with them. So they talk about Haiti, they talk about Piaco, which is Trinidad's airport, I do believe it's Trinidad airport. Verdberg. So as the people move, they're taking their culture with them. And now plush for San Juan. So what is that saying? It's saying that it is as though because Puerto Rico seems to be the Dallas of the West Indies, everybody wants to go to the Dallas of the West Indies. Just like, okay, well, now everybody wouldn't want to go to Puerto Rico. Everybody wants to go definitely to the US. Back then, Puerto Rico was that big thing for everyone. Everybody wanted to go to Puerto Rico. Now everybody wants to go to the US. Everybody wants a holiday in the US. It's as though the same thing. But what is unique here is that when these people are moving, they're taking along with them the cultures that they know. They're taking along their individual identities. Now, that might not be so. Now, as people are moving, they're becoming less of themselves and more of the US. I'll say that again. They're becoming less of themselves and more of the US. Americanization. Loose ends here, making sure that everything is crystal clear. He talks about the Maverick's gold ring. Who's a maverick? So a maverick is generally an individual who is known for taking risk in gambling and so on. So he's saying gold ring because, okay, the gambling resulted in wealth, right? So the wealth is, the gold ring is actually telling us that San Juan is glittering from up above. We also see that all across the Caribbean, he now refers to it as the Caribbean and less the West Indies. So this is, he's owning up that the Caribbean is actually now the original inhabitants of the Caribs. So the word Caribbean coming from the fact that the Caribs were the original inhabitants or inhabitants of the Caribbean. Coming down to the end of this page here, of this screen, we're seeing this cultural fingerprints. Now, this might generally be what I referred to it earlier. It can also definitely talk about the fact that as these people are moving across the Caribbean in this plane, the impact that they are leaving on the minds of travelers is a negative one. So it's as though the Caribbean people, the people from the different places highlighted there, are leaving negative impacts on the minds of the persons in the plane as well as everyone else who is on board. So he talks about Port-au-Prince. Now, of course, we know in Haiti there's a sign of lack of professionalism, which speaks to the severe economic conditions in the island generally. In Trinidad, the adjective sleazy conjures a speedy, disreputable atmosphere. It's mirrored in the artwork designed solely for consumption of the artist. So it's saying generally is that the only thing that they could have actually gotten out of Trinidad was the artwork. And we know there's much more coming out of Trinidad than just that. In Antigua, actually, the the baggage handlers, the persons who handle your luggage, are slow and contemptuous, and generally, when they're carrying out their duties, they're slow. So that's what he's hinting there when he says the lethargic contempt of the baggage boys. And then, so they're talking all of these bad things, all of they're basically making the islands seem not so significant. And then he goes on to say, now for plush San Juan. It's as though, okay, all of that happened, we don't like it anymore, but forget about it. We're moving to San Juan, the Dallas of the Caribbean.